Okay, I'm back, and this time it is Latin. We are going to hit the homework from last time. Last time we did fourth conjugation, present tense, and then we worked on looking at the difference between third, IO third, and fourth. Today, since my kids are napping and I should have a little time here to put this together, I want to go over the homework. I gave you a few things to do, and then we are going to hit the imperfect for the first and second conjugations, and then we're going to talk about the accusative case, and we're going to talk about direct objects. And we're going to start putting some sentences together where you have a subject, a verb, and a direct object. Okay? So we're going to start putting some things together. We're going to make it a little more challenging in some respects, but it also gets to be, if you like puzzles, it gets to be more fun. If you don't like puzzles, then it just is going to be more Latin, and if you're required to take Latin, then suck it up, buttercup. So here we go. We have the homework on the board. We're going to conjugate these two. I asked you to conjugate these two. Okay, and then we're going to talk about these three and whether or not they are, well, whether they are IO third or fourth. Okay, so first let's just do the first part down here underneath everybody. Okay, so we're going to start out with venio, venire. Okay, can anybody out there say that they know what conjugation this is? Is it first, second, third, or fourth? Fourth. It's fourth. How do we know? Well, we have two things that we can point to say definitively this is a fourth. First, the less helpful one is you have an IO in the first person singular, okay? So that narrows down your suspects. It's not definitive because IO third also has an IO in the first person singular, but it helps. You know it's not first conjugation, I hope. You know it's not second, I hope. So it's not third. It's not a straight third because straight thirds just end in O. All right? So we're down to IO third or fourth. We got a 50-50 shot. And now we move on to the nail in the coffin, okay? Right here. Our infinitive has an IRE ending, okay? And if you see an IRE ending in your infinitive, you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it's fourth, okay? That's all it could ever be. Can't be anything else. So we know that this is fourth conjugation. Okay? All right, now we were going to conjugate this baby, so let's do it. 1, 2, 3, first person, second person, third person. We're going to do singular and plural. So the first person singular is given to us. Okay, so we know that much. We always write down what's given. Okay, why work harder than you have to? You work smart, you don't work hard. Okay, take the RE off of the infinitive and you have your stem, and then we're going to add our endings, okay? And our endings for the present tense are OST, mus, tis, nt. Okay, so here we go. We have venio, venis, venit, and then we have venimus, venitus, and veniunt. Very important that you have the I in the third person plural, okay? So, I come, you come, he, she, it comes. We come, y'all come, they come. Okay? That's what this means, to come. All right? So, there's that. If you didn't get something right, then you need to figure out why you didn't get it right, okay? And if you don't know why, or you're unclear on something, you can send me a question in the comment box down below, and I will answer it. I promise, I will. So you can shoot me questions about this stuff if you have them. All right, so there's that. Now, munio, munire is going to do the same thing, but we're going to conjugate it just because it's part of the homework and the practice is good. It's a healthy thing. So here we go. This is also fourth because we have our IO in the first person singular. We have our IRE in the infinitive. So again, this is fourth. Munio, munire, and it means to fortify, okay? So, 1, 2, 3, first person, second person, third person, singular and plural. We know that it's munio here. Oh, for the love of St. Peter. Munio, not minio, okay? We find our stem by taking the RE off of the infinitive. Okay, and we know that muni is our stem. So here we go. Munio, munis, munit, munimus, munitis, muniunt. Okay? Same thing, just a different word. All right? So, if that's good and you can do that and you're comfortable with it, good job. If you can't do it, I recommend practicing, and I recommend that you ask the questions that you need to ask. And I can't tell you what those questions are, but if I can answer them, I will. You can ask your teacher, you can ask some other Latin guru, whatever works for you. But get your questions answered, because if you don't ask them and you don't get them straightened out, it's gonna get worse, okay? Your life is not going to improve by practicing mistakes or by not asking the questions that you need to ask. Just a heads up. All right, so we're done with the first part. Erase those guys. Erase this down here. Now, the second part of the homework was a little less involved. I just wanted you to tell me if these words are IO third or fourth. And I'm going to write them here. Okay, so here you go. These are the three verbs that I wanted you to look at, okay? Vocab, review, facio, facere, meant, to do or to make. Factory, okay? Think factory, okay? To do or to make. Factories make things, okay? That's where we get the word factory, as a matter of fact. Okay, accipio, accipere, to receive, to accept, okay? When you get to the fourth principal part, you realize that the word accept comes from this Latin word. Okay, invenio, invenire means to find, okay? It literally means to come into, okay? In, and then venio, you know, is to come, okay? It literally means to come into. So you've probably heard people say he came into a fortune. Well, it doesn't mean that he like fell into a giant fortune. It means that he found or he discovered his fortune through some means, okay? So find, discover. There are probably other synonyms that you'll see in dictionaries. But anyway, that's what those mean. Now, Faccio, facere. Io, third or fourth. What do you have on your paper? If you have anything on your paper. And if you don't, shame on you. Nah, it's Io third. Okay? How do we know? Well, we see an Io here in the first person singular. So automatically we know it's not first, it's not second, and it's not a straight third. Okay, it can't be. All right, so we know it's either an Io third or a fourth. It has to be. And then we look at the infinitive. Well, we have an ERE ending infinitive. So it's not a fourth. That is a third conjugation infinitive. Okay? So this is sort of the hybrid between the third and the fourth conjugations. Okay? It's a little bit of both. Okay? It's got an infinitive like a third conjugation, but it's got an IO like a fourth. Okay, so think of it like a bridge between like third and fourth conjugation. You have third, fourth, and in the middle you have the Io third. So Io third for faccio, facere. How about this guy? Accipio. Third, Io third. Okay. This guy down here, look at your first person singular, look at your infinitive. What do you have? It's fourth. We know it's fourth because we have the IO, okay? That tells us that it's either an IO third or it's a fourth. And then we look over here and we see that the infinitive has an IRE in the infinitive. So we know that it's not a third. It can't be an IO third, therefore it's a fourth all day long, every day, okay? On holidays, weekends, 24/7, okay? So that's what you had for homework, all right? If that doesn't make any sense to you, if you are still confused, if you need more help, you can go back and watch previous videos. You can, again, ask me questions. Write your questions out in the comment box below and I will get to them. I might even make a special video for you. Just think of that. A video dedicated just to you from in front of my master bathroom. It's like really the only place where it's not insane around here. I have birds in the other room and we know how they behave. And normally I have kids all over the house, and you just never know what kind of state my house is going to be in with these kids. Right now it's actually in pretty good shape, which is impressive. We were on vacation, and so since we weren't here for 2 weeks, our house stayed pretty clean. It was nice. We walked in and the house was tidy. Who thunk? Okay. So we are going to do the imperfect. Imperfect. Okay. So here's what you need to know about the imperfect. The imperfect is a past tense. Okay, that means that it happened in the past. All right. The present tense means it's happening right now. The past tense means it happened before now. Okay. So, you know, if somebody asks your birth date, okay, that is a past event. It happened before today. Okay, if they're asking you, chances are you weren't born today. All right. So, past tense means it happened before the present. Okay, it's kind of a weird thing. It seems a little odd in our minds, I think, to think of past as before, because I think that's kind of how we see the future in some ways, but yeah, it's not that way. It's almost counterintuitive when you put it in words, but happened before the present. It's imperfect because it is incomplete action. And what I mean by incomplete action is I don't mean that they didn't finish what they were doing, but the verb itself doesn't tell us that the action ever ended. Okay, the imperfect can be used for habits, things that happened on a regular basis, things that recur. Okay, it can be used for things that go on for a long time or for any length of time, even if it's just for an hour. If they want to convey that it's an ongoing thing, an ongoing process, they use the imperfect. Okay, so it's incomplete action. That's why it's called the imperfect. There's nothing wrong with an imperfect verb. It's not like there's some defect in it. It's just that it's not complete action. Okay? So, incomplete action that happened in the past. All right? And the way that we translate the imperfect is we use was as a helping verb. Okay? I was playing soccer. We were cooking dinner. Okay, I was sleeping. So was and were are the helping verbs that we use to convey that it is an imperfect verb. Okay, that's how we're going to do it in English. So whenever you see an imperfect, you need to translate it as was or were doing something. Okay? Okay. So with that in mind, let's look at the first conjugation in the imperfect tense. All right. Let's do... I got me a lovely little... we haven't done this one before. Let's do Woko... Wokare. Okay, can anybody tell me, and I hope you can anybody tell me what conjugation that is? Look at it. Is it first, second, third, or fourth? First. Okay. ARE infinitive. All right. This means to call. Okay, your vocation is your calling. Even though some people don't necessarily feel like it's a calling, that's what vocation means. Okay. If you invoke something, you're calling on something. Okay. If you provoke somebody, okay, it's calling something out of them. Okay. If I provoke my husband to anger, it means that I'm doing something that is literally calling forth anger from him. Okay? So, that's what that is. All right. So here we go in the imperfect. Now, the imperfect is still part of the present system, which means nothing more than the fact that we are going to use the second principal part, our infinitive, to get our stem. Okay, that's all it means. If something is in the present system, it uses the present infinitive to get the stem. All right? That will change when you get to the perfect and the pluperfect and the future perfect. But for now, we are still using this infinitive right here. And it's the same process that we went through for the present. We're just going to take the RE off of the infinitive and we have our stem. Okay? Now our endings are different. But it's really nice because it's super predictable. It's like the most predictable tense that you can possibly have in Latin. So here we go. First person, second person, third person. Okay? We know that this is first person, but it's not imperfect. Okay? So the first thing we need to do is find our stem because we have different endings. We can't count on this guy anymore. He's not a given. The first person singular is no longer going to be just given to you. You're going to have to work it out. Okay, so we're going to write down our stem first. We know that this is our stem. Okay, there's our stem written over and over and over. Now our endings. Here they are. Bam, B-A-M. Okay? I was calling. Bas, B-A-S. You were calling. Bat, B-A-T. He, she, it was calling. Bamus, we were calling. Batis, y'all were calling. Bant, they were calling. Okay, make sure that you do was or were as your helping verb. Okay, you need it. So there you have it. That's the imperfect for first conjugation. That's all you have to do. And like I said, it's really predictable. It's regular. It's very nice. It's probably the nicest one you will encounter. So enjoy it. Okay. So we find our stem. We put our endings on. You need to memorize your endings. Okay. And there you have it. If you can translate that, then you're rocking and rolling for the first conjugation. Let's do another one. Let's do to plow. Okay? You get words like arable, plowable. Okay? Nobody uses that word except for farmers and maybe agriculturalists, but there it is. All right. So here we go. We need to find our stem. Take the R-E off. Here's our stem. So we're going to write our stem down, okay, because once again, this is no longer going to be used for the imperfect. It's only going to be useful when you're in the present, because you can't write that down. It's not part of the imperfect. So we're going to write A-R-A over and over again. And then we're going to add our endings. So there's our stem, okay? Singular, plural, here we go. What was our first person? Bam. Okay? I could make some silly, like, teeny bopper joke, like, da bomb. It sounds really ridiculous coming from somebody my age. Kind of like purple hair. I see middle-aged women who dye their hair like green or purple. I don't know. I don't get it. Okay, so bomb, boss, bot, bamus, batis, bont. I was plowing. You were plowing. He, she, it was plowing. We were plowing. Y'all were plowing. They were plowing. Okay? Does that make sense? If it doesn't, then try to figure out what doesn't make sense about that and either ask me about it or look back earlier in the video or whatever you have to do. But that is first conjugation in a nutshell in the imperfect. Okay? And remember, we're using was and were as part of our verb. Okay? All right. We're going to do second conjugation. It's going to be the same exact thing, but the infinitive looks a little different, therefore the stems look a little different. It's also a different family of verbs. So, you know, it can't all be first conjugation. Where's the fun in that? It wouldn't torture Latin students if they were all first conjugation. All right, so here we go. Let's do... I'm going to borrow somebody else's vocab list so I don't have to do this all off the top of my head. Ooh, I like this verb. Let's do it. All right. Eubeo, eubere. All right. It means to order. Okay. To command. Okay. Later in Latin, you'll learn about jussives. Okay. The word jussive comes from the word to order. I know that's incredibly helpful right now, but there you have it. So this is our second conjugation. We're going to do the imperfect again. So we find our stem the same way. We're going to take the RE off. And because that E is strong enough to stick around, it doesn't go anywhere. Okay? And we're going to add the same endings to our stem. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? Because I'm mean. This is your homework. I want you to do it. I'm not even going to do it for you. You have your stem, okay? The endings are the same from the first conjugation. Bombos, bot, bomus, botus, bont. Think you can do it? I bet you can if you try. So, that's your homework. Coming at you a little early this time. All right? And it's going to be I was ordering, you were ordering, he, she, it was ordering, okay? That kind of thing. All right, so there you have it. All right, first and second conjugation, imperfect tense. That's really all there is to that. Now it's a case of memorizing and learning to identify them and translating them, okay? So you got about 50% of the battle right there, all right? The rest is a matter of you taking the time and learning what you need to learn and practicing identifying them. Alrighty, so up next, we're going to talk about the accusative case. We haven't talked about nouns for a while. We've been kind of landing on verbs every time we have a video, but now we are going to talk about the accusative. And I'm going to write case up here, that way hopefully people know we're talking about a noun. Okay? Remember our cases. Okay, we have the nominative, the genitive, dative, the accusative, which is what we're going to do today, and the ablative. Okay, these are our cases. These are for nouns and adjectives. Okay, these are not for verbs. Verbs do not have cases. Neither do adverbs. Okay. Nominative case we use for the subject or anything that relates to the subject, like a subject complement, like the boy is tall. The adjective that describes the boy would also be in the nominative because the boy is the subject. We talked about that when we were doing adjectives. If you're unclear on that kind of thing, send me a question down below. Okay, so nominative case is used for subjects. We're going to move down here to the accusative case. The accusative case is used for a couple different, well, actually a lot of different things. The one thing that we're going to hit today is direct object. You might be wondering why I'm not going in order. And the reason is simply because I want you to have a firm understanding of the basic grammar, both in English and in Latin, before we start throwing you into the dative, even the genitive. If you don't first understand a basic sentence, it's going to be really hard to move into possession and ablative of last resort. That's what we always called it. If we couldn't think of why something was in the ablative, we just called it the ablative of last resort, because the ablative has 30 different uses. It's almost endless. I'm not going to teach you all the uses. I could try, but it would be boring, and it would be like a mini series on the Slit Your Wrist Network or something. So, direct object. That's one of the uses for the accusative. The other one is prepositions, which we'll talk about later. Direct object. What is it? Do any of you know? Because I know English is not taught like it should be. All right, let's do this. Okay, so put very briefly and simply, there's no period there, it's not a sentence. Okay, that is the basic definition of a direct object. Now that doesn't help much if you don't understand what that means exactly. So we're going to do some examples of direct objects and how that works. Okay? So here is a very, very basic English sentence. Okay? Let's talk about the parts of the sentence, and let's talk about how the verb impacts the other words in the sentence, if it impacts the other words in the sentence, okay? So, what is our subject? Who is this sentence about, or what is this sentence about? Who or what are we talking about? We're talking about Bob. Bob is the subject. The subject is the one that the sentence is talking about. It's also the person or thing that's carrying out the action, if there's action in the sentence, okay? So, who is eating pizza? Bob. Okay, he's the subject. He's doing the action, okay? Now, I gave you a little hint. What's the verb? What action are we talking about? Eats. This is your verb. Okay? And that's present tense in English. All right? So we have subject and we have verb. Now, what is Bob eating? What's he eating? Pizza. So guess what your pizza is? It is receiving the action of the verb. What is it? It's your direct object. This right here is your direct object. Okay, it receives the action of the verb. In other words, what is Bob eating? Pizza. Okay, let's do another one. I'm going to erase all of that so I have more room. So I hope you wrote it down if you're going to write it down, or you've saved this video in your playlist or something. All right, here we go. Let's do a few more. Okay. Laura plays hockey. Okay. Who's the subject? Who's being talked about? Laura. What does Laura do? What's she doing in the sentence? What's the action? She plays. That's your verb. Now, what does she play? Hockey. What is hockey? It's the thing that receives the action of the verb. So it's the direct object, okay? It's the thing being verbed, as I used to tell my students all the time. Your direct object is the thing being verbed, okay? Let's do another one. I'm just going to keep hitting you with these because most people, honestly, most English speakers do not know what a direct object is. There are, I would dare say, the majority, at least by a little, the majority of people do not know what a direct object is. It's not good. It's really not. The English language is not being taught the way it should be taught in a lot of situations. So either that or English speakers are not listening to their English teachers. One way or the other. Here you are. So you need to learn it. If you never learned it before, you're going to have to learn it now because Latin is very dependent on grammar. You can't get through Latin without understanding grammar. And I'll give you a little spoiler. I was really bad with grammar until I took Latin. After my first year in Latin, I knew my English grammar. I knew it. You could put any sentence in front of me and I could tell you what everything in that sentence was. And it didn't matter what the sentence was. It could be a sentence that went on for 3 lines. I could tell you, oh, that's a relative pronoun. The antecedent is this. I knew it. You have to learn it in this particular language. There's no way of getting around it. All right, so let's do okay. Tell me about it. Subject: Richard. Verb: rules. Direct object: thing being verbed, thing being ruled. England: direct object. Okay? Receiving the action of the verb. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense because we're moving on to the Latin side of things. This has been all English. Now the fun begins. Here we go. Let's do this. All right. Oh, let's see here. Oh. Okay. So here we have a very simple, rather traditional Latin sentence, okay? Now, here's where you need to know what you're looking at, okay? And that means knowing your cases and your endings for your different nouns, okay? You need to know your declensions. You need to know how to decline. You need to know what declension things belong to, okay? So we're going to take this little bit by little bit. We are going to find our verb first, because in Latin, the best thing you can do is start with your verb. Now, the verb is much of the time, I'm not going to say all the time because it's not always at the end of the sentence, but much of the time, especially in textbooks, while you're learning Latin, you're going to see your verb at the end, okay? So, let's start with our verb. Our verb is at the end of the sentence. This is our verb. Now, this verb comes from amo, amare. It is what conjugation? First, second, third, or fourth? First. Does anybody know what this means? If you are somebody's amour, what are you? Are you A, their enemy, B, their lover, or C, their next door neighbor? Lover, okay? Amo, amare means to love or to like. You can do like as well for this word, okay? Now, we're going to have to figure out the person and number of this verb, okay? First, second, third person, singular or plural. All right, which means that we have to go back and we have to think of our conjugation. All right, so let's just rattle it out. 1, 2, 3. Amo. Let's not write properly. Amas. Amat. Amamus. Amatus. Amant. We're looking for this guy. Where is he? Where do you see him? Right here. Okay. He is a third person. He is singular, which means it's a he, she, or it. Okay, so he, she, or it loves or likes. Okay, all right. So that's what we know. All right. So we're gonna fix this once we've put all the pieces together. But for right now, we're gonna write what we know underneath the word, and then we'll sort it out and we'll put it into a nice English sentence that doesn't sound like crap. Okay. So I'm gonna say she or he likes. I'm not gonna say it because it's probably going to be a person. Cats, dogs, fish might like things, but usually emotions belong in the human realm. So, he, she likes. Okay, now we have to find our subject. We know that it's a he, she, or it. Okay, we know that that's true because our verb says that it's got to be third person singular. Okay, we have to have subject-verb agreement. Remember that? We cannot have we, and you can't say like we likes pizza. That bleh. Nobody says that unless they're horribly uneducated and they have no idea what they're saying, or they're being funny. Okay, so subject-verb agreement. We have it in English. We definitely have it here in Latin. Now we need a subject. Okay. What case does the subject of the sentence go into? Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, or ablative? I hope you said nominative. Okay. Well, we got two words up here. And we're just going to have to work through what case each of these words is. Okay? Does anybody remember what this word means? If I gave you this word right here, do you know what it means? Do you know the definition? If I covered the M up, would that help? Puella, girl. Okay? Girl. So we know it's girl. Now, is it singular or plural? Do we know? Can we decline girl in our heads? Let's try declining her and see where she falls on the chart. Okay. And by the way, what declension is she? First, second, third? We haven't done fourth, so it's not fourth. First. Okay. So she's first, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. Okay, here we go. We're going to find our stem by taking the genitive singular ending off as a review. So puel is our stem, and now I hope you're working through the endings with me here. puella, which is given to us, right there. Nominative singular is given to us. Genitive singular is given to us. Puelli. Puel. I. Puel. Puel. Ah. And you'll see macrons over the ablative singular oftentimes in textbooks so that you can differentiate between the nominative and the the ablative plural. Okay. Puel I. Puel arum. Puel is. Puelos. Puelis. Okay, that's the declension of girl. First declension, this is how they all function. Okay, so if you can do this, you can do any first declension word. Okay, now, this form, where do we see it? It's in this chart. Where is it? Right here. That is an accusative singular. So is that our subject? No, it's not. Why is it not? Because it's in the accusative. What case would a subject be in? Nominative. How do we know it's the accusative? How do we know that? Well, we know it because of the ending on the word. That is the basic answer to so much in Latin. Okay? Illumination is in the rear, kind of like fireflies. Okay? If you want illumination, you look at the butt of the word. Okay? That's where all the illumination is. All right? So this is an accusative singular, which means, based on our lesson today, we are talking about this being the direct object. The direct object of what? What's the verb? Oh, yeah. Okay, now we have to figure out subject. We've only got one word left. So, what's our subject? Puer. Does anybody remember what puer is as far as vocab? It's boy. And we're going to say the boy, okay? Because there's no word for the in Latin. So, the boy. All right. Now, oh, by the way, what declension is boy? First, second, third. Second. Okay, let's, just because we've not skated over this pond in quite some time, let's just decline it really fast. And then we're going to put this sentence together in a way that works for English, okay? So, puer, pueri, okay? We're going to take the genitive singular ending off. Remember, this is second declension. It's masculine because boy is a male person, okay? This is masculine. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative. All right, so we know that puer is our nominative, pueri is our genitive because they're given to us up here. Puer happens to be our stem. Okay, so it's puer, for the dative, it's puer o, puer puer o, pueri, puer orum, pueris, pueros, os, pueris. Now we look at this, we see it down here. The nominative, we know it's our subject. Okay? All right, so the boy, girl, likes. Well, that's not an English sentence. Let's try making it sound like something we might say in English. English has word order. So normally our subject comes first. So since we know that this guy right here is our subject, we're going to say the boy. In English, our verb usually comes after the subject. What's our verb? He, she, it likes. Now, we don't need to say he likes, okay? That's just redundant and silly sounding. Nobody talks like that. The boy, he likes, no. Okay, the boy likes, stated subject. We don't have to have a pronoun. We have the subject, okay? The boy likes or loves. You can do loves too if you want to go in the farthest direction that this word can take you. Okay, so the boy likes or loves what or whom? The girl. The girl is your direct object. She is the object of his affection. She is the person being loved. Okay? So, we're going to say loves the girl. That is the translation of that. And that is how you get a translation. Now, it gets a little less maniacal than that the more you memorize. Okay? I don't have to go through all of that every time I see a sentence. I don't. I've been doing this for a long time. Long time, okay? And after a year of Latin, this sentence wouldn't fool you, most likely. If you've done your due diligence and you've worked and you've memorized, after a year, that sentence would be like, pfft. You could write it in any order you wanted. Somebody could write it upside down and you could still make sense out of it. Okay? It doesn't always have to be that time consuming, but when you're starting, you're just going to have to muscle through it. Okay? Let's do another one. Let's do... Let's do... Okay, that works. You know what? No, I'm going to do this. Okay. All right. So, let's diagnose, shall we? All right. Where's our verb? What word up here is our verb? Right here. Now, you have not had this word, at least in my videos, so I'm going to tell you what it is. It comes from habeo, habere, and it means to have. Okay? Now, this is a what conjugation? First, second, third, fourth? Second? Okay. We know it's second because of that E sitting there. Makes it pretty obvious. Okay. Habeo, habere. If you look at the first two principal parts that I gave you, you see the EO here. That's all the tip off you really need. But if you need confirmation, go to the infinitive. You have an ERE infinitive. Okay. EO in the first person singular and an ERE in the infinitive second conjugation. All day long. All right. Now, how do we translate that thing? Is it first, second, or third person? Habeo, habes, habet, habet. Okay. So that is habeo, habes, habet, third person, and we are still in the singular column. So we know that this is third person, singular. Okay, present, active, indicative. Okay. So we know that this is a he, she, or it. Has. Okay? He, she, or it has in the present tense. All right? Now, let's look at this word. What in the world is that? I'm not sure if we ever did the word for field. I'm going to give it to you. Ager. Agree. Okay, now, remember puer was second declension, okay? And it kept the E. This one is second declension. It loses the E. Kind of like book and child. Remember that discussion that we had? Okay? Same thing. Loses the E. So, here's our stem right here. Now, let's think about the declension, okay? We have ager, agree, okay? And then the dative would be grow, okay? And then the accusative would be groom. And then the ablative would be grow. Move over to the plurals. Nominative plural, agree. Genitive plural, agrorum. Dative plural, agrees. Accusative plural, gross. We have a match. Okay, so we know that this is accusative plural. Is that our subject? No, it's accusative. It can't be. Okay, it's not going to be our subject. This is accusative plural. It's also, by the way, not only is it accusative, but it's plural. So even if we thought in some other universe that that could be our subject, it can't be because we have a singular verb. We know that our subject of this verb has to be singular. Okay, it has to be third person, he, she, or it, and it has to be singular. Okay? Okay, we're digging deep here, guys. Okay, you gotta dig it. You gotta just pull all this stuff out, pull your notes out, start reviewing. Okay, this is where it all starts to get real. Okay, now, we only have one word left. Okay, so this has to be the subject. There's gotta be a subject. Okay, so, does anybody know what this word means? I'm not sure if we've ever done it or not. It's farmer. Okay. And this is what declension? Ends in A, so it's first. Okay. It is a masculine exception. Okay. It's a job. It's an occupation. So it's masculine. Okay. It is a masculine first declension. It's one of the rare first declension masculines. So this is the farmer. We know that it has to be the subject, okay, because it's the only word left. And if we diagnose this word, we'd also realize if we skipped all of this and we didn't do agros first, we did this first, we'd realize that this is nominative singular. If we look back at our first declension charts, okay, we'd see this is nominative singular. So, there you have it. The farmer. This would be plural, accusative. So, what's the plural of field? Fields. And then we have he or she has. All right. Let's put this into word order that works for English, okay? So the subject comes first in English, the farmer. Then comes the verb. What's the verb? Has. Okay. What is the direct object of this verb? What is the thing that the farmer has? Fields. Yeah, fields. There's your sentence. Subject, verb, direct object. Okay. Okay. Receiving the action of the verb. It's the thing that the farmer has. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you homework. You had homework earlier. This is the second part of your homework. I'm not going to give you the Latin to do. I'm going to give you the English, and I want you to turn it into Latin. I want you to compose in Latin. Put your verb at the end of the sentence, okay? I want you to compose in Latin the following, okay? And you're going to have to conjugate and decline. So get ready. So here we go. Let's do... let's do... let's do the farmer sees horses. Okay? I'm going to give you some of the vocab down here. That way, if we haven't hit some of these words, you can still do them. Okay? Number 2. Let's do... the sailor calls the children. Okay. Let's do the boys hold the books. There's your homework. We had the word for farmer earlier in the video, I was looking at this word. Sees in Latin is video, videre. We had that in an earlier video, but I want to make sure that you have all the vocab you need to see. Horse is equus, equi. Sailor is nauta, nautai. And it's a masculine because it's a job, okay? It's first declension, but it is masculine. Sailor. Okay. We did calls earlier. We've done children in our second declension video. We did boy in a second declension video. Teneo, tenere, is to hold. And we did books in a second declension video. So if you haven't been watching these videos from start to finish, go back and find the one that's described as second declension. And you'll find a video that has information about US ending second declension, like equus, and ER ending second declension, like children, boys, that stuff. We did a couple things with it a little earlier too. So there's your homework, okay? Take your time. Think it through. You would probably benefit if you went through and you identified in English what the parts of the sentence are. Okay, so farmer, what is he? Subject, verb, direct object, what is he? Sees, what is that? Subject, verb, direct object, what is it? Horses, same thing, okay? And then go through in your Latin and figure out the vocabulary, figure out how to decline it, figure out the case that you need to put stuff in, or the number of the verb, whatever, and just put it together. And remember, your verb in Latin goes at the end, okay? And you can put your subject first. You can put your subject in the middle of the sentence. It really doesn't matter. I've been putting the subject first because I'm talking to people, chances are, who are just learning. And there's no point in torturing you any more than I absolutely have to. So, there you have it. Okay? Take care. It's been a really, really long video, but I hope that helped. If you have questions, put them down below in my comment box, and I will get back to you. Okay? Take care. Bye.